The next one is an artboard. Initially, I'm just going to teach to one artboard, but at some point, we'll start adding more artboards to our document. Let's just start with one for now. There's a variable. This is, if you've been working in Illustrator since it was created, this you would say, oh, this is a newer variable. Newer now is about 10 years, but they added a bleed function. And a bleed function is an outer mark, and the document itself has an edge to it. You know what I mean? Like when you launch the file, there's an edge where it ends. That edge where the document ends has a specific term for it. You guys know what it's called? Anybody might know? I know I have some people that seem like they have some design experience. It starts with a T. There's a term for it. It starts with a T. It's called the trim. The trim. The edge of the document is called a trim. Now, outside of the trim, outside of this edge, there's an outer margin that you can create. That's called the bleed. In design practice, you usually add a bleed to your document of 1/8 of an inch or 0.125. I'm going to do that. 0.125. And I make that uniform. You can unlink it and make different bleed dimensions. I don't know why you would do that. That's not the norm. But normally you have linked bleed, and it's all at 1/8 of an inch. And then we have advanced options, which we will discuss in greater detail later. But for now, I just want you to see that there is a color mode, right? And there are two color modes in digital content. One is CMYK, the other one is RGB. Can anybody tell me what RGB stands for? What do you think it stands for? Red, green, and blue. CMYK, what do you guys think? What is a K? Black, right? And why is it K? Does anybody know? I'm sorry? That's a great answer, but that's incorrect. It's like a logical answer, but it's really not that. But we'll talk about that later. We'll figure out why it stands for K. Cyan is a type of blue. Magenta is a type of red. And yellow is the equivalent of the green. In a way, it's actually pretty similar to this. We have a formal lecture where I talk about the technologies that are associated with both Illustrator and Photoshop, which I think are the sort of foundation softwares for what designers work with. And we basically design for one of two types of deliverables. We either create content that is a deliverable for this. What is this? What we're looking at? Screen. We either are making deliverables for screens. What are the screens that we engage with? A monitor, our watch now, our phone, our television, our projectors. These are all screen formats. Well, if it's not screen, then what's the other? It's print format. Print is anything that we're reading on paper or on a material, on a surface. So the two softwares are really catering to these two formats. It's either for screen or for print, and this is also connected to that. I have a formal conversation where I go over that pretty thoroughly. But for now, let's just stick to CMYK, the default. And the preview mode will also keep it on the default. And you'll notice that there are also more settings. We'll ignore all this stuff, and we'll go ahead and just hit create. When I create my document, as you can see, I have an edge to my document, and it literally has a distinct color to it. What is the distinct color to the edge of my document? I ask a lot of silly questions, guys, but it's because I'm trying to make a point about something. What is the distinct edge of the document? It's black, right? Black edge, that's my trim. That's my trim. What do you think this red line is? This is our bleed. And doesn't that make sense? It would be red. It's called bleed. It's red, right? That's my bleed. Now, what is the function of the bleed? What is the function of, why did we do that? This is full bleed. If I was going to prepare this page, this document, I would want to make sure that the image reaches the edge or the trim, but a little bit more. I actually wanted to go beyond the edge. I wanted to go out here. Now, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to set the image beyond the trim. Anybody have any ideas? When they print these documents out, they don't print it out on a single sheet of paper. They actually print them out on gigantic sheets of paper. And they don't print out just one page. They print out numerous pages on one gigantic sheet of paper. How big is a sheet of paper? It can be as big as 2 of these tables put together, this big. They put the designer spreads and print out multiples on this sheet of paper. That means that they have to cut them out of that larger sheet of paper. Hence, the trim. They're going to trim it out of this larger sheet of paper. When they cut this sheet of paper, you think they cut one sheet at a time? No, that would be really inefficient. What they do is they print units of 1,000, or let's say that, right? And they put them in a stack. And they put them in this special machine that tries to push the stack into an edge or a corner. You know, imagine this is the machine and they push the stack of paper to that corner to try to align everything. And then they put a weight on top of it, like a press, to hold it in place, and then a guillotine, a knife cuts through all of them at the same time. And they cut all the way around it. Right? So imagine they're doing this on stacks of 1,000. Is every single sheet going to be cut perfectly? No. You can also imagine, depending on the paper type, as the pressure pushes on the paper, it's going to expand more at the bottom because there's more pressure at the bottom than on the top. They're all not going to be cut the same. By the way, if you have ever gone to go buy a pair of jeans and you go, oh, I really like those pair of jeans, they fit great. And I'm this size and I tried them on. And then you buy like 3 of the same pairs of jeans and then you realize, hey, they're all kind of cut a little bit different. For some reason, they don't fit the same, even though they're the exact same size. It's because the jean patterns are cut the same way. They put them in a stack, cut them all out, and the ones at the bottom might shift or stretch more. That's why you get different sizes or fittings, even though it says that they're the same. Anyway, they put them in the stack, they cut it with the guillotine, and there might be some shift. We call that a tolerance. The shift or the margin of error is referred to as tolerance. Let's say the tolerance is a 1/16 of an inch. That means it can miss by a 1/16 of an inch. They're anticipating that. But if it misses this edge and it cuts to the inside by a 1/16 of an inch, I cut into the image. But what if it cuts to the outside? It would cut into what? If I don't build a bleed into it. What is the rest of the sheet of paper? White. If it cuts outside of the trim, it will leave a white sliver. As a designer, you should compensate for that. And the compensation or the safety is to build your design a little bit bigger to the bleed. That way when it cuts it, you're still cutting into the ink. You're not leaving a sliver of paper behind. That's what this is all about. And the unit of measurement is just a kind of a universal format or size, 1/8 of an inch. Why not a quarter? Why not a half? It's a waste of ink. The tolerance is not that big of a margin of error. And if it is, it's a production problem and the printer should fix it. But 1/8 of an inch tends to be the rule for that.